This video is going to be a little bit more personal than the ones that are typically on my channel, but I'm talking about this because I think it is really important to keep sharing stories of what's happening right now so that people understand the pressures to stay silent. Many of you, probably the vast majority of you, have no idea that I had another job. When I quit television news in 2019, I took a job with the Washington Department of Natural Resources, shooting videos mostly focused on wildfire and forest health. And I've had the honor to tell some really amazing stories about the brave wildland firefighters, about fuels crews who are addressing the forest health problem that is driving some of these historic wildfires. I was also able to meet and tell the stories of people who have been directly affected by wildfire and in some cases have lost their entire homes. The job gave me the opportunity to build my independent work on the side, which was not an option under my contract in television news. And I was encouraged to continue with my social media work when I was hired by DNR. Now, the reason that most of you don't know that I had this other job doing these videos for the Department of Natural Resources is because I never talked about it on this channel. I rarely, if ever, have even discussed it on my other social media platforms, past the very beginning of when I was hired, when people knew why I was leaving my TV position and where I was going. And I kept those very separate for a reason, because the content I was doing on my other platforms had nothing to do with my work at the Department of Natural Resources and vice versa. And I also did my media work on my own personal time using my own personal equipment. Despite all of that, my bosses told me that I was no longer allowed to do any videos on my podcast that related to COVID vaccines, or vaccine mandates that they said undermined the DNR policy. Now, the Washington State Department of Natural Resources is separate from Governor Jay Inslee's mandate. We have an elected official, Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz, who has her own mandate for the department, and staff were required to be vaccinated by October 18th. There are many people still waiting to hear if they're going to get an accommodation. I was told that my videos were undermining that policy and that in order to maintain my position at DNR, I had to stop. I informed my bosses that I believe I have a First Amendment right to continue talking about this again on my personal time, on my personal podcast, and that given that the agency is a science-based industry, that they would align policy-wise with videos that allow scientists and doctors a robust option for discourse, that the variety of thoughts that I'm sharing on my podcast are exactly what science is all about, and that a science-based agency's policy would align with that. Some of the videos that my bosses mentioned they were concerned about included Dr. Cariotti, who again is a medical doctor and also the director of medical ethics at a major institution. Also, Dr. Molly James, who is an ICU doctor, or was an ICU doctor until she quit over vaccine mandates. These are experts in their field. They're important voices. And the reason that I share them here is because I believe that censorship is denying discourse, which is extremely important, not only to my former profession of journalism, but for science and society at large. And we're at a really crucial point in history for understanding civil liberties. There are people who write me on a regular basis that are in the science and medical field. I see their comments in the comment section. I get emails from them. And some of them say that the reason that they're not talking about this is for exactly what happened to me. They're nervous that they're going to lose their jobs, and they're afraid of the social repercussions. That's a really dangerous position, in my opinion, for discourse to be in, where we're making potentially irrevocable changes to society and to people's lives, frankly, their ability to make those decisions with informed consent. When you have doctors and scientists and others who are not speaking up, we may have the incorrect assumption that what we're hearing is all there is. And it's become very clear to me that that's not the case, that there is quite a bit of variety of consideration, of opinion on what's happening right now, and a lot of it is being hidden from view. There's no way to do journalism and science in an environment like this. And that was why I was willing to take a great risk, just like the people who have come on my podcast. So I told my bosses that I plan to continue with my videos, and I was fired. Where would I be if I cover free speech and people who have been silenced in one way or another are pushing back on it, if I also allowed myself to be silenced on what I believe is one of, if not the most important points in history for my lifetime? So that's why I made the decision that I did, despite the fact that there are very many unknowns now for our family, not the least of which is health insurance. So if you have any ideas about that, if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur or you do work on the side where you do your own health insurance, let me know. I'd love to hear what you're doing for that. To wrap this up, I just want to say that I was really honored to do the work that I did at the Washington Department of Natural Resources. I have no ill will towards the agency, and certainly none towards the staff, the really hardworking staff that, frankly, it's not an exaggeration to say they saved our home several times over this summer. We almost had to evacuate twice, and the firefighters and the forest health crews have saved thousands of homes across our state, and I'm incredibly grateful for them, and I'm honored that I had the chance over the last couple of years to tell the public about their hard work. The other thing that has changed for our family, which I'm going to talk more about on another channel, and I'm going to put the link to that channel in the description of this video so you can follow our journey, is that we are moving off-grid-ish, as we call it. And when I quit my TV news career, we left Seattle, Washington, and since then we've been on a simplified lifestyle journey, you could say, living in the country, buying food from our neighbors. So you can go to our channel, we're calling it Off-Gridish Living, and stay up to speed with how our lifestyle is following my work on this channel. And if you would like to continue supporting my work, as always, the links are in the description of this video. I asked my locals community if they wanted to hear anything specifically in this particular video and posted my announcement there initially. So if you want updates quicker about what's going on in my life and you'd like to participate in my editorial board, as I call it, I have Saturday morning editorial board meetings where you can help me pick out stories for the week ahead, and you also get exclusive content. ROKFIN's another great place where you'll get an exclusive live stream once a week with Bill Doris, also an ex-TV newsie like myself. Go to my other platforms, sign up there, not just to support my work, but to stay in touch in case something happens on my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on my other platforms, thank you for making the switch. A couple questions that I got from my locals community that I will answer really quickly here is, first, were there any restrictions that were specifically communicated to you when you were hired about topics that you could not discuss? And the answer is no. Nobody said you cannot talk about this on your social media platforms or else you'll lose your job. But then again, COVID was not a thing when I was hired, and I had just finished being an environmental reporter, so much of my social media content revolved around that. Topics like killer whales in Puget Sound, or wolves in the Cascades, or toxins in the water. Someone else also asked, how could they do this if you don't publicly discuss your role at DNR in your videos? If you're not mixing the two, then and they're totally separate, then why would they fire you? And what was communicated to me is that I was part of the communications staff at DNR, and they did not want somebody on the communications staff who was directly communicating or indirectly communicating via having other people communicate about a topic on their podcast that was, what they said, challenging or undermining the official policy around COVID at the Washington State Department of Natural Resources. I know there are going to be people who watch this and think that my bosses did the right thing and disagree with my content, and maybe you're even happy about what happened to me. But you know what? You're welcome here too. It's uncomfortable to put myself out there like this, but I just felt like it was necessary because, like I said earlier, I think I think that many of us, if we're not paying specific attention, and I was certainly like this even when I was in mainstream news, despite the fact that I should have been far more ahead in my critical thinking skills. But you just assume that because you don't see something, it's not there. Like the old saying, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it really make a sound? And with the rabid censorship tactics of the big tech platforms and frankly, the pressure that they're getting from the government, I just felt like it was really important to tell my story. The other really big picture reason that I'm talking about this is because I really believe that the more we discuss ideas that are uncomfortable or are being censored, the more we make it normal to just talk about stuff, to ask questions and to push back. And the more of us who do that, though, like myself, suffer consequences like losing our jobs, the hope is that maybe a year from now or maybe 10 years from now, there will be other people who can do the same video and not lose their job. And that's really why I'm talking about this, is not just the information itself that I feel like is valuable, but also to just pave the way, I hope, for others to feel more courageous about speaking up, about sharing their thoughts, and especially those in the fields that are so important right now, journalism, science, medicine, to just pave the way for those people so that maybe there will come a day down the road where they won't lose their job. They won't be suspended. They won't be censored because we've normalized something that wasn't so crazy too long ago, and that is ideas. It's a really crazy time to see that ideas are looked at like a disease, that if you listen to them or you allow for them to be shared, that there's this contagion that all of a sudden will take over people, and even by association, we will all be infected with ideas. And that was another big issue with my decision to not comply, was that I was told it wasn't necessarily me, it was the people that I had on my podcast that were concerning, that I was associating with people publicly that were, again, my boss has said, undermining the policy of DNR. And I think it's a really dangerous position to be in, where we feel like not only can we not speak up, but we can't even associate with people who are speaking up. So again, that's why I made my decision. I have no regrets, and my family is behind me 100%, and we are going to continue moving forward and hope that there are better days ahead. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget you can support my work by also checking out my sponsors and having a glass of wine or a cup of coffee in honor of free speech. The first is AllisonWinePromo.com, Allison with 1L, winepromo.com. You get 50% off of my favorite Argentinian Malbecs and 50% off of shipping. They have switched out the 3 bottles from the last pairing, so check them out. Many of these are high-altitude wines. They're very robust. They use no flavoring, no filtering, no dyes, and no excess chemicals. But if you need something to wake you up, like a strong cup of coffee, check out twinenginecoffee.com/Allison, twinenginecoffee.com/Allison. They've got a wide variety of roasts. These are high-altitude, shade-grown Nicaraguan coffees that are also USDA certified organic. They also do a lot of great work to help prevent sea turtle nests from being poached. You can support their work by also going to twinenginecoffee.com/Allison and become a sponsor, and they'll even show you video of when the sea turtle nests that they're protecting are hatched. So check out my sponsors and support free speech wherever you are.